Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being with us. The Secretary General and the President will make short statements and then have time for just a couple of questions. Secretary General.
President Margvelashvili, warmly welcome to NATO headquarters. It's great to see you again. We have met before, but it's always a pleasure to receive you here at NATO headquarters. Because Georgia is such a highly valued partner for NATO, and our partnership is strong and it's getting stronger. Georgia contributes substantially to Euro-Atlantic security. Georgian troops have been standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO for many years, playing an outstanding role in our operations. Georgia is currently the third largest contributor to our resolute support mission in Afghanistan, and I thank you so much for that. And I also thank the Georgian people for Georgia's strong contribution to NATO operations and missions. Georgia has also carried out impressive defense reforms, and you have put in place a more mature democracy. So Georgia has moved closer to NATO, and we are committed to helping you to do so. Over the past 2 years, we have put in place a substantial NATO-Georgia package of support to strengthen Georgia's defense capabilities. And implementation is well on track. I was very impressed by the implementation of the substantial NATO-Georgia package when I visited Georgia last year. Our joint training and evaluation center in Tbilisi is up and running. Joint exercises have also started, and I think it's great to see that Georgian troops, NATO troops, and troops from partner nations are exercising together in Georgia. That's good for us, and it's good for Georgia, and it is a strong expression of the strong support in NATO for Georgia and for our partnership. And around 30 NATO experts are in Georgia, helping your ongoing defense reforms with more contributions to come. So NATO is committed to continue helping you boost your security and carry out your reforms. And at the Warsaw Summit next month, we will further strengthen our package of support for Georgia, a clear demonstration of our strong political and practical support for your country. During our meeting, we also discussed today Georgia's progress in consolidating its democratic institutions. This includes the preparations for parliamentary elections later this year and ongoing efforts to strengthen the rule of law and independence of the judiciary. I welcome the continuing reform efforts in all these areas. They are of great importance. So, Mr. President, once again, welcome. Georgia and NATO are moving closer, and I welcome that we are able to enhance our partnership. We will continue to support you, and I look forward to meet you in Warsaw in just a few weeks. So once again, welcome.
Thank you, Secretary General. Let me thank you for a warm welcome and an in-depth discussion about Georgia-NATO partnership. Georgia is continuing to have NATO membership as a top priority of our national development. We also continue participating and being together with NATO troops in NATO-led missions. We are also happy with the great opportunity that we had just a couple of weeks ago to have joint trainings together with NATO allies. And we were happy to see on our 25th anniversary of regaining of our independence that UK and US troops were standing together, arms in arms with our Georgian soldiers as they do it on the battlefields, contributing to the global security. We discussed the upcoming Warsaw Summit, and we discussed the cooperation formats that we will forward on the Warsaw Summit. We discussed the implementation and the successful implementation of the Wales Summit conclusions on the substantive package and consider furthering this process. I informed Secretary General about the environment on the occupied territories and on the separation, on the occupation line. I informed Secretary General about a murder that has been committed several days ago on the occupation line, as well as today's developments when the new border signs have been put on the territory of an independent and sovereign country. We believe that Georgia's commitment to the Euro-Atlantic integration will be furthered also through the democratic process in our country, and that these elections that will be happening on the 8th of October will be one more step forward in Georgia's European and Euro-Atlantic integration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with the Georgian public broadcaster.
Georgian Public Broadcaster, Mr. Secretary General, you mentioned about the political support and need of political support for Georgia, which we will receive in Warsaw during this summit, but still we want to know more about this issue. Georgia calls on NATO to deliver on membership promises. And in December, when we read the statements, there is written that membership action plan is an integral part of this process. So, will be somehow this statement change in Warsaw, and if not, this wording will be much stronger. Many think in Georgia that it will be a wrong signal to Moscow. And President, you also, can you tell us more about the expectations?
First of all, I think it's important to welcome the progress we are making in our partnership and our cooperation with Georgia, and Georgia is making a lot of progress. We have implemented a substantial package. We have the training center in place. We have 30 NATO trainers, advisors in place in Georgia, and we have seen several different exercises with the NATO and NATO allied countries exercising together with the Georgian troops. And Georgia is implementing reforms, modernizing its armed forces and enhancing and enforcing its democratic institutions. All of this is of great importance, partly because it is important in itself. I think it's good for Georgia, but it's also good because it moves Georgia forward on the path towards membership and towards Euro-Atlantic integration. Second, we have stated that Georgia has all the practical tools in place already, with the NATO-Georgia Commission, with the substantial package, and with the partnership and the cooperation we are developing together with Georgia. We stated at our foreign ministerial meeting last December that MAP continues to be an integral part of this process. It's too early for me, of course, to prejudge exactly what heads of states and government will decide. But I think that the idea of saying that Georgia has all the practical tools, continue to implement and to deliver on the practical support for Georgia, as we have seen now over several years, but also being focused on the importance of MAP is an approach which gathers broad support in the alliance. And I think it's important to understand that even without MAP, there's a lot of things we can do. to have more NATO in Georgia, but also more Georgia in NATO. It's good for Georgia, it's good for NATO, and that's exactly what we are doing, and that is of great importance both for Georgia and for NATO. Well, the signal to everyone, to the whole international community, is that NATO strongly supports the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Georgia, and we do that by both provide a lot of practical support. I think there's hardly any other partner nation of NATO that receives more practical support than Georgia, with the substantial package, with the training center, with the exercises, with the advisors from NATO being present in Georgia, but also, of course, strong political support. And this will be reiterated at our summit in Warsaw. Georgia will participate in 4 different meetings at the summit. A meeting of heads of states and government in the rest of support format. There will be a meeting of the NATO-Georgia Commission at the summit at the level of 4 ministers, and there will also be meetings for the defense ministers. So Georgia will be present at the summit at both the heads of state level, the 4 minister level, and defense minister level. So, and there will be a NATO-Georgia Commission meeting. All of this will be a great expression of our strong support to Georgia, and that's a very clear signal to anyone.
Well, let me repeat what just Secretary General said, is that I do expect that after Warsaw Summit, we will have more tools and more resources for increasing our defensibility, as well as increasing our cooperation formats that will further the reforms in armed forces and will increase our capacities. This is on the practical side. On the political side, I believe from Warsaw, we will hear a firm support of my country's independence, of its sovereignty, as well as for firm support of my country's democratic development and faithfulness to the values that we all agree upon, and that's why the alliance was created, and that's why Georgia wants to be in the alliance. Including the very important 4 formats which we discussed today with Secretary General, we will have the possibility to hear firm statements on these issues in various formats. So, of course, NATO is an alliance of independent countries who decide independently and have their priorities. I believe that working on the summit with each individual country will further Georgia's role and further Georgia's importance, and we will come out of the summit stronger, more integrated, and more defensible.
We have time just for one more question. We'll go to Rastavi too.
Secretary General, you just mentioned about that lot of things we have to do about Black Sea region security project. Is it possible to involve Georgia in this project, and will you discuss this issue in the Warsaw Summit? Thanks.
The Black Sea is a sea and a region which has attracted more attention also from NATO and NATO allies over the last couple of years, not least because of the increased Russian presence with the illegal annexation and of Crimea, and with the significant Russian military buildup in Crimea. And NATO allies are now discussing how we can increase our presence in the Black Sea, a multinational presence with more naval ships and more military presence. No decision has been yet taken. We have increased our presence in the region as part of what we call the assurance measures. But we are now looking into whether we can have a more persistent NATO military presence in the region, and we will consider a more regular multinational NATO presence in the Black Sea. I also discussed the situation in the Black Sea with the President during our meeting, and of course Georgia, also being a littoral country to the Black Sea, is concerned about the situation. And for me, this just underlines the importance of NATO working with Georgia to modernize and to strengthen the defense capacities of Georgia, being a country which is very much affected by the security situation in the Black Sea.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you going there?